I'm probably one of the few karate instructors who's going to talk about this honestly, because I'm not approaching it from theory. I'm not just a guy in a gi talking about trauma because I read a paragraph online and decided to make content out of it. I'm a retired infantry staff sergeant. I've been around violence. I've seen what violence does. I've seen what happens when people survive the incident but carry the aftermath home with them. And that's why this subject matters to me. Most martial arts instructors want to talk about the technique, the block, the strike, the takedown, the disarm, the cool looking part. But real self-defense doesn't end when the attacker stops moving. It doesn't end when you get away. It doesn't end when the police show up. Sometimes that's where the second fight begins, the fight inside your own head. That's the part martial arts schools usually skip, and I think that's a mistake. Because if I'm going to teach people self-defense, then I also have a responsibility to talk about what happens after self-defense. The shaking, the guilt, the anger, the numbness, the replaying, the second guessing, the sleepless nights, the hyper awareness, the I'm fine lie people tell themselves because pride is easier than healing. So no, this is not going to be the usual karate video. This is not about pretending violence is glamorous. This is about telling students the truth. If you ever have to defend yourself for real, get help afterwards. Even if you think you don't need it, especially if you think you don't need it. Because surviving the attack isn't the whole mission. Staying whole afterwards is part of the mission too. Today I want to talk about the part of self-defense that almost nobody wants to talk about. Not the punch, not the kick, not the lock, not the takedown, not the cool little fantasy where some guy attacks you, you defend yourself perfectly, the bad guy falls down, the cops shake your hand, the town gives you a parade, and everyone claps because apparently we live inside a badly written martial arts movie. I want to talk about what happens after. Because real violence doesn't end cleanly. It doesn't end when the attacker runs away. It doesn't end when the police arrive. It doesn't end when the ambulance leaves. It doesn't even always end when the court case is over, assuming there is one. Sometimes the body survives the incident, but the mind keeps fighting it. That's the part people ignore, and that's stupid. Not weak, not shameful, stupid to ignore. Self-defense is violence. Necessary violence? Maybe. Justified violence? Maybe. But violence all the same. And violence leaves a mark. It can leave a mark on the body, it can leave a mark legally, it can leave a mark socially, and it can leave a mark psychologically. That doesn't mean you did anything wrong. That doesn't mean you're broken. That doesn't mean you're less of a man, less of a woman, less of a martial artist, less of a veteran, less of a protector, or less of anything. It means you're human. Annoying design flaw, I know, but there it is. In Dragon Kenpo 2.0, I talk a lot about practical self-defense, judgment, restraint, responsibility, and being able to act under pressure. The point isn't to create people who love violence. The point is to create people who can survive it, control themselves during it, and live with themselves after it. That matters because a self-defense system that teaches you only how to damage another person, but not how to handle the aftermath, is incomplete. Dragon Kenpo lane string already treats self-defense as pressure, confusion, fear, ugly decision-making, lawful conduct, recovery, and after-action review, not just did you win the fight. And that's the point. The incident isn't just physical. It's mental, it's emotional, it's legal, it's moral. You may defend yourself and still shake afterward. You may do exactly what you had to do and still feel sick. You may go home alive and still replay the moment over and over. You may think, why didn't I see it sooner? Did I use too much force? Did I wait too long? What if he had a knife? What if my wife had been there? What if my kid had been standing next to me? That's not weakness. That's the brain trying to process threat. After a violent incident, you may feel angry. You may feel numb. You may feel guilty. You may feel nothing at first, which can scare people later because they start wondering why they were so calm. You may laugh at the wrong time. You may cry. You may not sleep. You may sleep too much. You may avoid the place where it happened. You may keep checking doors, windows, parking lots, mirrors, hands, waistbands, exits. That's your nervous system trying to make sure the wolf doesn't come back. Useful in the moment, miserable when it won't shut off. Post-traumatic stress or disorder or PTSD isn't being dramatic. It's not attention seeking. It's not. I had a bad day and now I need a label. PTSD can develop after someone experiences or witnesses a life-threatening or traumatic event. Stress reactions after trauma are normal, and many people improve over time. But if symptoms last longer than a month and start interfering with your life, that may be PTSD. Common reactions can include upsetting memories, being on edge, sleep problems, avoidance, anger, concentration problems, physical reaction, and increased use of alcohol or drugs. And here's where people get stupid. They say, I'm fine. Maybe you are. Maybe you're not. And right after the incident, you may not be the best judge. That's why you should seek help even if you don't feel like you need it. Not because you're weak, because you're disciplined. After a real self-defense incident, you should get medically checked if there was any contact, impact, fall, choking, head strike, weapon threat, or adrenaline dump. Adrenaline can hide pain. Shock can hide injury. People walked around with injuries they didn't understand because their body is still running on survival chemicals like a badly managed government program. You should also consider talking to a mental health professional, counselor, chaplain, pastor, peer support group, or someone trained to deal with trauma. Not some loudmouth at the bar, not some internet commando, not the guy who says, bro, you should have done this. That guy should be studied in a lab and then ignored. Talk to someone useful. And let me be clear, I'm not saying everyone needs to be forced into some dramatic emotional confession circle 2 hours after the incident. That's not the point. In fact, some formal psychological debriefing methods aren't recommended for preventing or treating PTSD. What people need is support, monitoring, follow-up, and access to real help if symptoms appear or persist. NICE recommends active monitoring for people with sub-threshold PTSD symptoms within 1 month of trauma, with follow-up contact, and specifically says not to offer psychologically focused debriefing for PTSD prevention or treatment. That means we don't force someone to relive every detail because we're curious. We don't play amateur therapists. We don't turn trauma into dojo gossip. We don't make the student tell the story 10 times so everyone else can enjoy the violence secondhand. That's not leadership. That's being a trauma tourist. What we do is check on people. We tell them what reactions may be normal. We encourage them to sleep, hydrate, eat, document what happened properly, follow legal advice, and avoid alcohol or drugs as coping tools. We make sure they know where help is. We make sure they know they're not crazy if the incident follows them home. And we make sure they understand this. Surviving the attack is only part of survival. Recovery is part of survival too. If symptoms persist, professional treatment matters. The VA's National Center for PTSD notes that the talk therapies with the strongest research support are trauma-focused therapies such as cognitive processing therapy, EMDR, and prolonged exposure. Peer support can also help people feel connected, but it's not a substitute for evidence-based treatment when PTSD is present. So here's the after-incident rule. Don't tough guy your way into long-term damage. You can be strong and still get help. You can be trained and still be effective. You can be justified and still be shaken. You can win the fight and still need to talk to someone afterward. That's not contradiction. That's reality. And instructors need to hear this too. If you teach self-defense, you're not just teaching movement. You're teaching people how to think about violence. That means you have a responsibility after the drill, after the pressure test, and especially after a real incident involving one of your students. You don't mock trauma. You don't reward recklessness. You don't tell people, just get over it. You don't pretend mental health is weakness while teaching a subject that can put someone face to face with fear, injury, guilt, police reports, and nightmares. A serious instructor builds capable people, not damaged people pretending to be fine, not aggressive idiots with better kicks, not students who think asking for help is failure. The goal is not to make people fearless. Fearless people are often just stupid people who haven't met reality yet. The goal is to make people functional, aware, disciplined, controlled, able to act when necessary, able to stop when the threat is over, able to recover afterward, able to seek help without shame, because when violence happens, the goal isn't to become a movie character. The goal is to go home alive, then stay human. And sometimes staying human means admitting that the incident affected you. It means talking to someone before the memories rot into something worse. It means getting checked even when pride says you're fine. Pride is useful when it gets you off the floor. It's useful when it keeps you from healing. So train hard, train seriously, prepare for violence without worshiping it, defend yourself if you have to, use only the force that's justified, stop when the threat stops, get safe, get medical help, get legal guidance, and get mental health support if there's even a chance you need it. Because self-defense isn't just surviving the attack. Self-defense is protecting your life after the attack too. That includes your body, that includes your freedom, and yes, whether your ego likes it or not, that includes your mind.